now go through a few ways of how to cue you to get the correct pelvic floor contraction. We know that a lot of women cannot perform the right pelvic floor contraction initially, and if you have a weak pelvic floor or pelvic organ prolapse, you can be making these issues worse by repeating the wrong contraction over and over again. There are many different cues to help you contract your pelvic floor, and some cues will work for one person but not for another. So it is important to get your pelvic floor checked to ensure you are doing the right contraction. The evidence suggests that the best cue for continence control is to use a posterior cue. So if we start with the correct breath coordination, we want to start by inhaling right down into our belly while our pelvic floor is relaxed. And as we exhale, we want to gently imagine closing and lifting the anus up and towards the belly button. We then want to release and then inhale to ensure that we feel the two stages of the release phase. So the let go is just as important as the contraction. So if we practice that again, we want to inhale, and as you exhale, think about starting to close the anus and lift it up and around towards the belly button, holding and then releasing. We then want to inhale and ensure that we have a complete release of our pelvic floor, and then maintain that as you exhale. So another cue is to imagine a pebble dropping into water. First, we get the pebble dropping down. As it hits the water, the ripples spread out wide. If we want to think of the pelvic floor as this contraction in reverse. So again, we inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, you want to imagine the ripples coming in, or the anus and vagina closing, and then you want to imagine the pebble lifting up and forward, holding, and then releasing to feel the drop, and then the ripple spreading again. You may feel a bit of a tightening through your lower abdominals between the front of your pelvic bones at the front. If you do feel this contraction, that is fine, and you are activating your deep abdominal muscles. If you feel a bracing or a locking action underneath your ribs, or a tightening of your upper abdominals, you're probably using too much of your abdominal muscles. Depending on the issue that you have with your pelvic floor, the focus may be on different components. So you may be focusing on holding a long contraction if we're working on endurance. We may get you to think about doing some quick contractions if you have issues with coughing and sneezing and you need that quick pelvic floor contraction. We may focus more on using a front cue, so thinking close the vagina or stop wee, or we may think of using more of the back contraction, so closing the anus and holding wind. So it really depends on what your issue is and what we find in an assessment, and trying a few different cues to get the right contraction for you.